I was in the Green Party of Canada for a long time, and I've given up. I'm 67. I can't fight here, and that's all I'd be doing. And it'd be futile. It'd be futile. We've got dissidents of the far right online. Ted Cruz walked across the border, and they're trying to convince you that landlords are good for it. They're just trying to keep above the no gold system that I read about when I read Margaret Atwood's book Payback. Now we got them using every tool to get in power. Pro-right and pro-life. These are tools to manipulate with the social media system. So they come up with Bill C-11. Such a weak bill to try to contain the democracy of Canada. You had a truckers' revolution. Let's talk about that. Was it about the COVID? They all had vaccines. They were just uprising. It was nothing to it. And the ones defending it were the progressive conservatives. You know, of all the parties in Canada, Green Party can get along with all those, but not the progressives. Their agenda is just to get in power. And their agenda is pocket lined by oil companies. And they tell you that's good for you. Some people make money in the oil fields, but they don't spend it right. They just waste it. And now you're house flipping. This area is going to collapse. It's going to collapse. People want houses. CMHA was trying to, CMHC, Canadian Home and Mortgage, was trying to help people. No. You're just inflating the market. It's been inflating 5 times higher. And I'm not temperance. I drink, but I can't afford to drink in Canada. It's ridiculous. I'm an Australian by blood, by birth. My mother was Australian. She was still a citizen of Australia when I was born. I don't like the taboos in Canada. I like younger women. My mother married an older man. I play blues and the music systems you can't. Storytelling, I was talking to a French-Canadian songwriter. That's all gone. Well, I use the blues elements to convey feelings. And I try to tell a story about wayward people. I'm not an elitist. I am not an elitist. I'm a man that believes in equality for women. Children should get truthful education, not manure about climate change not existing. It's as bad as Nazis, and there's Nazis in Canada. Haters and blamers and racists. It's not a good country anymore. It's destroyed by, first you got Preston Manning. Yeah, I'm not a communist. I'm an egalitarian. I'm more a transcendentalist. I had shifts in my life. I did go to Marxism, but I wouldn't go to communism of totalitarianism like Pol Pot and wiping out people. But the war over gold was ideology. That was Richard Nixon. Fighting a war that you really didn't need to fight. Australia got into it and they regretted it. I have a vet here. He was a conscientious objector and he went into Vietnam. But he admits it was wrong. Burning villages and stuff. Maybe they were extreme, the Viet Cong. But they threw the Americans out, right? They spent all that money. They printed money since 1971. He said he was made it. It's just like the Bible says. You won't be able to buy or trade. Well, the beast came up. That was Richard Nixon. He off-booked everything and you couldn't even buy gold. Gold was the foundation of the FIFA dollar. So now you're inflating the market with crypto, trying to keep afloat. There's no afloat here. She's all crashing. Finally, we see it. But with the problem, you're not doing anything about it. You have to contain the market and stop the house flipping. You can't have and you'll say that's communism. Well, if you want to call it communism, it was by Chairman Mao. He said real estate landlords are nothing but parasites. If you're going to get so partisan and not see that that's the truth, these people don't work. They sit back, flip houses, and make profit. To get a little bit of money and invest in that and invest in that. And they're just sitting on their computers enjoying making you slaves. There's no freedom in not owning a house. And people trash places because they don't give a shit. Excuse the language. They don't give a damn. They don't fix things, and then they're always trying to fight the Landlord Tenants Act. I don't want to be a tenant. I want to be an owner. And I want to make a good life. I've studied natural health care. I'm 100% for it. Australia's got it. I'm just talking to a young woman. I don't know what she's doing in the States, but she's in natural health care and she's worked hard. She's 35. She talked to me on the phone. We get along great. I've never talked to a woman so intelligent. She's German. She'd be better in Australia. And she's really attractive and nice because she looks after herself. My issue with Canadian healthcare is this: you want somebody to fix you. Doctors have a problem with that. Good doctors know they can't fix you. It's up to you, but you won't do anything. Australians we're getting life coaches in Australia. And we're telling people, he's a great mate. He goes out and he says, there's one thing Big Pharma wants you to know. Push the friggin' plate away and quit eating so much. But they don't want you to know that. Junk food nation. They got rid of Starbucks. Aussies don't go to Starbucks. We got Timmy's, but we got Starbucks prices going up. Some people don't like it. The coffee's all right, but I like whiskey, I like beer, and I like a Queensland rum. I like horse racing. I'm against social media influencers going against horse racing because they don't know what they're talking about. I like all sports and horses if it's done right. And it's all crazy people on social media platforms. They have the freedom and anonymity to influence you. Canada was a good country under Pierre Elliott Trudeau, but he had the white paper. There's a lot of healing needing to do, but they'll never be with the progressive conservatives. No way. So I saw a girl in the bar. She was her 19th birthday. I wasn't being judgmental, but I saw some strange things written on her neck. I said, "What's that, dear? What is that?" Not to judge her and humiliate her. I had to ask her. It's my life map. Well, when we don't have a democracy and these rogues get in here, you got no life map. You got no life map because they block things. They block entrepreneurialism. Oh, yeah. I reported him to the Ombudsman of Ontario. He was blocking entrepreneurism. This MP here, MPP, came in with that rotten Mike Harris. We couldn't get along with him. But they elected another PC here. She was bad too. She was a racist. That was, she can probably sue me. I don't care. You can sue the blood out of a man that you made poor. I was trying to get back and you wouldn't even give me funds to get going. But you're printing money to flip houses and junk, you right wingers. Yeah, right wing. I'm not conservative. I did read Marx and Engels. You can use that as a model. But we're not living in an industrial age. We're living in a high-tech age, and I studied agriculture. But I said I want the organic. But here's you people going on here, social influencing, and talking about commodity boards and poor people not being able to get nitrates. Why would you want nitrates? They're tied to that fossil fuel industry that's inevitably going up, and you're just ramming. Nitrates can pollute the groundwater, and they pollute the atmosphere. So I'm an environmental scam boy, eh? You know, you just put the extremality of nature out of the picture. Ecology is natural science, working within the natural order, and that is ungodly. When you take those elements out, we are human beings, but we're living in a spiritual realm. We got psychiatry that tells you that love is not a chemical reaction. It doesn't exist. We are Newtonian, stupid people. We've been believing all this stuff. Farley Muller's quote, humans are defective species. What happens to humans when they're defective species? What happened to the dodo bird? He went out. So you're listening to this McGregor. He's a Scotch kid. He's a yuppie. He's a millennial. Do I hate all millennials? They need a bit of guidance, but when they're not humble, this young guy, I'm trying to guide him. He wouldn't give me. He wouldn't wear a belt because he's a vegan. That's zealotry. It's dead, and I don't see them producing anything more. You know, you could make good products, but you got into planned obsolescence. It started in about the 1960s. Planned obsolescence. My cousin worked for light bulbs would last. You know, last. The elements wouldn't go out on them. So they hired him as an engineer for General Electric to make the elements burn out. So you buy more and more and more. So somebody says to me, you spend a lot of money on those. Yeah, because they last. There was good things in the conservatives. Brian Mulroney was a very green conservative. Elizabeth May was in his party. Ben Mulroney's all right, you know, the son. But when you got Preston Manning and you got Stephen Harper in there, you destroyed Canadian democracy. I started seeing this when I was in the Green Party. We were getting 15 cents on the dollar for every vote. The votes really didn't mean much because there wasn't a proportional system. But you were supporting each party to give them funds. This party, they use social media, they lie, and they get pocket lined. There's no transparency from oil and gas. And everybody buys it. They use the media and just flood the system. You know, it started out, this McLuhan, he said the media is the message. So I noticed it when J.F. Kennedy was running. They just flooded the thing with a mind hack. He wasn't bad. He was a good president. But they started saying Kennedy, Kennedy, Kennedy 3 times. So when you go to the polls, you got this little jingle in your mind. You got a jingle, and it goes in there because that's the way we use things. It's a form of psychological manipulation. So all these influencers know all the techniques. Social media is nothing more than an influencing system. It started out good, and then they started putting in an addiction called likes. Listen, I'm listening to you people on here that say I'm trying to get off social media. It's worse than cigarettes, isn't it? You ever been addicted to anything? I was a drunk for a while. It gets to the point you can't quit. You have a drink, and you gotta have a drink, and you gotta have a drink. So I go to AA. What do? Well, I'm not very confident, so I want to go and talk to somebody. Everybody's outside smoking. Have a cigarette. Oh, I quit booze, but I started smoking, and it was worse. Hell of a lot worse to get off tobacco. And I got into social media, and it was an addiction. I had a phone in my hand all the time. I couldn't put it down. And I was getting angry. Anger, seeing all this rightism and these attackers on here. So I just deleted it, and I won't go back. I opened an account. I don't know how to delete it. I lost the password. I didn't put my picture up. I'm going to change my name and leave. I'm getting a full denunciation of Canadian citizenship because the country's ruined. It's completely ruined. I don't want to pay taxes to this country, not for fossil fuels. I want to pay taxes for education. I don't want to have politicians saying teachers don't need unions. They certainly do. And I don't want teachers hate. I want good education, so homeschool your kids, but they're not letting you do that. So you go up to provinces like there, and what are they teaching? Oh, tar sands is a cleanup job. They're mind hacking kids. They're destroying their own earth. We have got a United Nations agreement to cut down fossil fuels, but all you mind hackers are on YouTube here telling people flipping houses. You're just lazy. If you invest in flipping houses and you're on these cryptocurrencies, you're lazy. You're taking advantage of the system. The other person will become fiscal and frugal and save money while this is all crashing. You can keep on floating up and up and up. But there's a point to no return, and it's pretty well there. This is the global reset, and I'll tell you it isn't. It's the global reset. We're bailing them out and printing money, instead of looking after the citizens of our country. We've had some real rotten bastards in power. We had Mike Harris. He should be in jail. He caused Walkerton, but they disagree. Walkerton 12 died of E. coli. Now, here's the argument. He went to, and he was at the hearings, but he deregulated. So you're always talking about freedom. It's called libertarian, conservative libertarianism. That's what it is, man. You gotta have regulations. And those people died of E. coli, and that's a horrible friggin' death. But no, just blame it on the guy that did it. Well, but who allowed it? When we don't have regulations and law on healthcare, who did it? We're still paying money out to those families. He should be in jail. Stephen Harper should be in jail. A lot of them be, and they're still up there yapping and going around with their right-wing swing. They're the worst party in Canada. So I'm going up to Ottawa. I don't mind Trudeau, but I don't like he pushed the oil through. But he had to because Trump. Now Trump's back in. They shut him down. He's on Twitter. I deleted the app. They're attacking. He should be in jail. Trump should be in jail. This kid that shoots his mouth off about our politics should be in jail. He's going to go up to Ottawa and protest against Bill C-11. Just throw him in jail. Ostracize these assholes. Excuse my language. They make me so mad that I have to denounce citizenship. I don't want to live in a country with no democracy. I'm in the Green Party, a very democratic party that could work with all the parties, but not the PCs, because they're part of the reformists. The reformists were a part of this removing a democracy. They sound good, reform, doesn't it? It's not good. It's not good for you, but they'll tell you everything's good for you. Eat the apple, the witch says. Eat the apple. So Kenny got in Alberta. Oh, Lord. I was out there in mine. What a mess. Let's talk about what fossil fuels do to Alberta. And I'm going to tell you what I know. These little towns, they go in, they frack, they move around, and they leave everything empty. They make them ghost towns. Nice farm working agriculturalists. That's what Harper was doing. He was building prisons to put marijuana smokers in. But Alberta's all pot smoking. But they didn't put him in. That's what Dr. David Suzuki said. They should have locked him in there and thrown the key away. Stephen Harper is a criminal, but not in a non-democratic country. Criminals rule. But, it's called civil law when you get into anything now. Everything's civil. I got stolen real estate. Now it's civil, which makes it weak as puppy. It's not criminal to steal a man's house and throw him out in the cold. I got to sue them, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. It's hard to get funds. Well, I'll tell you, there is places that'll lend me the money, but lawyers won't take that money. I got to move out of the area and go to Ottawa. I'll get some justice. I've been trying to get justice. They give you a 2-year statute. They hold it up for over 2 years, so you got to appeal and appeal and appeal. It's not a just society. It's a criminal society of criminals trying to get their heads above water as the economy crashes. Flaherty was the finance minister. He made sense. He said, cut back. I read Atwood. She was saying payback. But you wouldn't listen to it. Harper just shot his mouth off. Canada's screwed. Reformists are criminals. But PCs are worse. They're worse. I lived in Ottawa when a good man was there, and his name was Pierre Elliott Trudeau. You don't like him? You don't know nothing. That man had guts. He stood up, and he was a strong man. He was an alpha. He was a good leader. He died. Justin came in. There was a lot of problems. He had a bad wife. He had a wife that had smoking a lot of weed, and they said she was bipolar. It was just too much dope, and she was too rebellious. As far as bipolar goes, as far as I think it is nothing more than chakra imbalances. I don't believe in these labels. They're Newtonian. So I'm a holistic health coach, and I couldn't work in this with your psychiatry and your drugging up people and not giving them a future. They don't want to keep them well. They don't want to talk about micronutritional supplementation. They don't want to talk about it. The whole pharmaceutical racket's taken over, deregulating and allowing them to run everything and keep people sick. It's a human rights crime across the globe. Psychiatry now, that form. So I read Jung, and Jorgen Peterson denounces Jung. Jorgen Peterson's a bad man to listen to. If I get in politics in Australia, I'm going to make a no-fly zone that he comes in. I don't want him in and keep our democracy strong. I'll run as an independent because, and we have the power to vote and work for the constituency. That's why the other reason I'm denouncing citizenship. I don't want any ties to this country now that you ruined it with the far right. Everything gets extremes. Even veganism's got extremes. There's nothing wrong with it. But when you start running down sports horses and you start forcing your way on people, you're zealots. You ruin everything for everybody. You've ruined the whole food diet racket system with your zealotry. It's crazy. For one thing, Gamarfama was the Buddha, the awakened one. Life is impermanent. These are ways to not suffer. But when you get to extremes and you believe like it's a holy cow of an ideology, it becomes sick and polluted. Veganism has gone beyond its limit with PETA and going against horses, horse riding. You don't know anything. There's weight restrictions on horses. A bit in the mouth doesn't mean we use it as a torture device. I'm trying to think of what the relationship is here. Fear of death. Death is an interplay with life. We got a fear-based culture. Still living in pain and suffering and unconsciousness. If you accept impermanence, it's even in quantum reality, it's called the Heisenberg's principle. What's certain is uncertainty itself. Doesn't sound good, does it? Doesn't sound good that you'll die. But the inevitable truth is we die. The older you get, you know that will come. But the older you get, you want to be happy because that's number one. First thing I've learned about life, it took me a long time. Selfishness and envy is not happiness. Being happy for others and wanting them to get ahead is happiness. Not me, and landlord class is not happiness. It's greed. There's enough to go around. But there isn't enough for greed. I denounce landlords as parasites. We have to have all these tenant landlord laws because you guys don't want to work or do any type of job to make a living. You just want to sit back, sit on your computers, flip houses, and make money. Shame on you. And telling people it's good for them. Commonplace, common land, ownership of property is what Canada's about. It was the pioneers. You've destroyed our country. And may God have mercy on your soul as you walk the 13 steps to the gallows. And that's the economic gallows of what you're going to. And as it goes up and you go down, you'll go down with so much hatred when everybody's poor. Because you're heading to unfortunately, you're not heading to glory. You're heading to bum on the street. You won't be an elitist. You won't have the fancy car. You'll be the one. We remember you. I've lived long enough. I remember seeing guys drugging racehorses. They're in the bar there. Can I have a bit of money? Hey, buddy. I wouldn't give you a friggin' kiss my butt. You ruined the sport. You're on your own, bum. You're an owner and you just went down. It's a wonder you're not dead, from other ones just killed themselves. Could be a gun, maybe. It's not a nice thing to say, but you destroyed the sport. And that's why we got all this. You don't know what happened. You don't want to hear. You just get zealot like and go around, I'm a vegan and I hate horse racing. Listen, I've seen horses run like hell because somebody says something to them and cares for them and loves them. It was paying money for people living the backstretch. We lived the backstretch life. Get called a bum. Yeah, I got called a bum by a dressage owner. It was a good start to my life. Everybody has to have some foundation. Horse racing was the start of my life. I didn't like the corruption, but I got into the equestrian. It's corrupt there too. The human ego is corrupt as hell. It's not always money. A lot of it's ego. Human being better than the other guy. Doing anything you can to win a competition. And just grasping on hard reins. And saying horses are stupid. I've had a lot of pain from that. And I said, boy, oh boy, I need an ego watch. One that goes, bing, your ego's picking in again. It's like we are unaware of it. I start playing music in public and, oh, you were really good. And I'm just feeling this. I don't like myself now. Because I think that's why we drop out of the music industry. We don't want to be frontmen. We don't want to be on stage. We just want to write the music and do it in the studio and not be known. Mike Oldfield, he was like that. He didn't want all that glitter. A lot of musicians don't. It's lonely at the top, man. And it's just, you're not living your authentic you. Your authentic you. Who is your authentic you? What they want you to be, some glitter star? You want to be an influencer? You want to be JD, we were talking, and I'm on a group of Canadiana music, which is destroyed by the friggin' system. And JD says there's no storytellers. Yeah, this guy says people's attention span is 2 minutes. Huh? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. The music goes nowhere. It's just, that's what's wrong with it. We got Instagram, you got ADHD. You got girls that addicted, they're not being ladies. They got ADHD. And I've seen them. They go out and get drunk, listen to that racket. There's no space between the notes. And there's no mindfulness. I go in the park. I can sit in the park bench and enjoy the afternoon listening to birds and the beautiful sounds. They can't leave their phones alone. They're walking through the park, earbuds in. Their addictions. Communication is maybe all right. But if you're not living life and looking around you and enjoying things, you're wasting your life. I said to my brother once before he died, I said, live your life in a grain of sand. See that? You know what that is? You know what that is? That is, I got, that's Skype with scammers coming in. And, see, it's Skype. It's scammers. They're all on there. I put my name off of there. I don't know who that is. But it's scammers everywhere. And I just don't answer those calls. I'm not on there. I just had the account open. I haven't opened up my business. So it's not bad yet to be concerned about. I've opened up. I click on the video and some black guy walking down the street and Nigeria or somewhere. I'm not a racist. That's what it is, so you don't go on there. And I'm an empath, highly sensitive empath. And I'm trying to get around not hating these people because they're all struggling. So I ask myself, where's the compassion for everybody trying to rob you and pick on you because you're single? I've sexually been turned off by women online. They hurt so much because they're just crypto scammers, Bitcoin scammers, catfish women that are not attractive. They look at, and then you see their picture. Oh my lord, she's fat. And she's weird. She's got some sexual perversions. I've just gone off the whole thing. Men aren't dating online, good men. And empaths cannot take that. We cannot take liars. And that's why I can't get along with the progressive conservatives, because they're all liars. They're liars. And that guy there, he came on there. I got a block. I mean, he bugs me, so I call him dirty names to get him off my back. He's a right-wing, stupid Gen X. I'm not saying all Gen X's are wrong, but he's right-wing. Jordan Peterson, I can't tolerate. He doesn't smile. I can't smile because I got rotten teeth. Why? They had me on lithium. I don't have bipolar. And I'll tell you what I think of bipolar. I think it's all hogwash. It's a chakra imbalances of many years of trauma. So he says to me, then you're a victim. I'm a victim listening to you. And I said, shut up. And I hung up. You're not a spiritualist. You were running down my techniques. I use alchemy. No, I don't use that. Well, then you're a zealot. You're a zealot. You know, in one way, I use a lot of modalities. I use supplements. I use going for walks. I use doing the things you love doing. I use essential oils. I use Reiki. I use transfer you to a yoga instructor, a Pilates instructor. I'm not a one-way guy. I don't think there's one way in anything. It's just what works for you because you're an individual and I'm kind and I care about you. But I could be a zealot and say that's the only thing. I do this. Don't do anything else. Don't go to a doctor. I could tell you that. I wouldn't do that. It's unprofessional. But he's supposed to be a psychic healer. Reiki has got forms of psychic healing, and I do admit on animals, I've done amazing things. But I said, I'm just a conduit. Oh, no, you're the healer. No. See, that's the ego. I do Kundalini Reiki, and it's not me. It's to release the ego, to allow it to manifest through me. It goes through. So this idea of I'm the healer is wrong. I've studied, I've attuned to the energies, but I am not the healer. God's the healer, or whatever you want to call him. Great Spirit, God, Allah, Buddha. Well, Buddha just means the enlightened one. But to be enlightened, it's a process. And the ego is the veil of even spiritualists. Be careful of the ego with people that are teaching you things. The Buddha's noble truth, they have a saying, kill the Buddha on the path. What's that mean? It means this. You don't get attached to the teacher. There's the finger that points at the moon, but you pay attention to the moon, the finger. The person that plays the music, are you listening to the music that's manifesting through them? Is it for them or the manifestation of a connection of synchronicity that you be drawn to that music because there's something of you there? So even in the still quietest moments, and that's what I'm missing in music. Philip Glass went on Times Square with a grand piano, put a clock on the piano, opened the lid, and they stood there. It's not playing, but they're listening. They're drawn into hearing the noise, the traffic. Do you pay attention to the noise around you? That's why I'm moving out of here. It's too noisy, too much traffic. I'm going to move somewhere, probably in an area where it's quiet. No roads. I don't want roads. I don't want noise. I don't mind wildlife, parrots, cockadoos, stuff like that. I love the sound of rain. Life is sound, but it's not man-made sound. Eager beavers working all the time, struggling and trying to be top dog over the other dog. And that's all my life has ever seen. Stories of ego destroying the planet. It's not noise bothers me. If it was silent and I've been out in the nature, it's so beautiful. There is sound out there. Crickets or orchestras. The paddle of a canoe. A nice sound. But they're machines. They have no consciousness. So I said to this guy, he was arguing with me. I just wanted to discuss that these guys find saved fetuses. What about consciousness? When does consciousness enter a fetus? Do you know when? So what do you reply with? It's not about consciousness. Or I breathe, and that to connect consciousness is mindfulness. It's to go beyond the mind of the Maya and breathe. So we automatically breathe. But we try to control it. That's the problem. And when we meditate on the breath, it's not to control it. It's to be one with it. And we learn breath work of expelling. It's pranayama. Blow out the air. How many counts? You got no air in there. You'll find an urge and you get beyond it. It's like fasting. And in those spaces, without drugs, without plant teacher, consciousness manifests. It's not the instant. Music is practicing scales and instilling them. Well, meditation is the same. There's no easy route, but it's when I see the ego coming in, I know you haven't got it. And I saw the ego of this man. And Jesus said to Judah, he's judging me. He's judging me that I had a drunken past and I'm a victim. I'm a victim as long as I live in Canada. I'm removing the victimship with denunciation of citizenship. I want a democracy. And we got no democracy. You don't vote. So I'm denouncing citizenship proudly. So I'm not proud of Canada. You're destroying Earth. And you might hate me. I don't have an ego. I'm just out there. You might hate me. That's all right. Go ahead. Hate. Because that's your own pain. I don't have that pain. I'm sending it with forgiveness. Can you forgive? And can you look clearly at the smoke and mirrors around you? You know, the samadhi of realizing what we're doing is wrong, keeping a fossil fuel industry going. And we're at war now, and you're just fighting it. Well, I gave up driving a long time ago, about 20 years ago. I still got a driver's license. I got a motorcycle. I drove transport. I drove a lot of things. Doesn't interest me much. There's better ways to get around, but not the way the Canadian system is. We got terrible trains. We got the active transportation hubs need improving. But they never will improve unless you start getting a democracy. This country's so vast, you could improve it. Grassroots technologies, energy sector, renewables. I said, would you have an electric car? No, I'd rather have a hybrid of what? Hydrogen. Well, I said, yeah. It's not it's not polluting. But what happened there? They wouldn't put the infrastructure in. That's always been the way. Refuse the infrastructure of putting hydrogen in. Malaysia has it. So what you do is look at another country and say they're not a civil democracy. They're not a civil democracy. They're totalitarian, they're communist, or they're socialist, or they're something, but they are using renewable sector. I don't know which I got to divide up on. Civil democracy, a capitalist system, which I don't believe in capitalism. I don't believe in capitalism. Capitalism is the only means of the ownership of production. It was written by Karl Marx, but you'd call me a communist. I'm not a communist. He came in, he said he was me on LinkedIn, and I blocked him. He argued with me. He said, I'm trying to get Trump back in. Oh, you're a Republican. Oh, I'm not a conservative. You're not fiscal conservative, my friend. Well, I'll pray for your communist soul. I'm not a communist. So here we are. We're just getting into rhetoric. I'm an environmentalist and a man that wants democracy. These principles of democracy are based on the people for the people. But they had to go back into what Marx was teaching, a little bit of political science. So you're all lost at the wayside of what they call reform of the far right wing. The extremes, like the Buddha taught about the extremes and everything's got an extreme point. Yeah. Like going to the bathroom, sometimes it's normal, but it turns to the runs. It's the right wing politics has gone to the runs of extremes. That's a filthy way to put it, but it is filthy. Landlord class is good for you. Come on. It's not good for you. Owning homes is good for you. Having your own place, your own autonomy, not somebody says, I got to see what sort of dog you got. That's why I'm leaving. I don't want rules like that. I want rules that I'm safe. There's gun laws and things like that, but I want autonomy of owning my own place. I don't want rules like that. I want to keep the landlord class down. I could be complete Mao Zedong and go out and execute landlords? No. Leave them to have rentals so you can transcend. But if they're buying up everything, nobody can afford a house. Don't ever say landlord class is good for you, and don't say we're communists. You don't know it's good for you because you're being told and plumed by a racket call and using egoic methods to get in power. So I'm not a communist. No, I was in the Green Party. I found a middle path. But then I don't like the Australian Green Party because it's anti-horse racing. So the Australian Party seems pretty good. A party that sort of, I'm looking for the in-between. And I'm seeing a lot of women in Australia running as independents. And when a party doesn't blend with the will of the people, run for an independent and run in your riding and your constituency as an independent and listen to the people. Because it's not all about you and your ideologies. It makes a good country and a good civil society. It's about them getting together and having civil discourse. Going through court systems to get some justice is just futile. It's just a struggle. But the pain body of struggle is everywhere. So we'll never have a society with that sort of mentality. Civil societies take a lot of keys of balance. So to know civility and less suffering is not to be a controller in of any form and not try to manipulate people. And that's what social media is doing right now, especially on YouTube. There's a lot of influencers selling products, maybe, but then I don't even like that because you're selling junk. Let people find the merit of what the product is. Do a product review. I'm all for you. But to go out and maybe downsize, I have to look at it myself. I think that's up to the individual. I don't think. I know you make money at this. What is the right livelihood? Right livelihood. Oh, you can't make money at right livelihood. Well, it's sustainable, and that's another thing you don't like hearing. Sustainable right livelihood means people are honored. What are you going to be when you're dead? A piece of turd in the ground? Oh, I shouldn't use that word. What are you going to be? Are you going to be remembered for giving good service, being a good, kind person, being generous, having enough money, and living a good life, and not worrying about one eye open all the time? That's the way we're living, one eye open. Because some people don't like what you do. You can go on social media and look like a prince, but you're not a prince if you're manipulating ideologies. You become the golden calf of what Moses said. And I go to the mountain and I smash it. Because these are ideologies. And we couldn't look at the angel feather of the churches creating residential schools. We couldn't look at that as a symbol and examine it with humbleness that this is take the word religion out of it and just put in ideology. Because that fits a lot of things. It fits political ideology, it fits landlord ideology, it fits a lot of things. So we the only thing I notice that we tend to miss is what I practice. Right livelihood. Be kind. But kindness is getting confused with self-righteousness. My way is the best way. My way is the best way. My ideology, me, my ego, is right. Self-righteousness. We always have to examine it, even though we get into things like veganism, which is a good, healthy diet. We can't force it on people. We have no right. And we get zealot like. Few fruitarians, I like a little bit of. I love fruit, oh yeah. So I'm going to go out and get fruits then. But I'm not going to live an ideological life like this. I'm going to live a humble life and a peaceful life that you make decisions. I do not manipulate and control you. Nobody likes that. And you're trying to do it to everybody. So, social media, be careful what you do as an influencer. And you're just a joke. I get angry and I act like a fool, so I'm going to delete some videos. This morning I have a chance of changing my ego and watching it. I ask you to do the same thing and quit listening to this right-wing extremism. It's like veganism, it's going extreme. It's void of frugal living. It's void of it. It's just keep your head above the water and screw everybody else. It doesn't work, my friends. It's still the me generation.